This is Lawson Electronics. Today we're going to have a video on to installing and some basic uses of Home Assistant. This is a great Raspberry Pi project, but you can also install it on your machine. I'm currently using a Raspberry Pi 4. We basically what's going to happen. I would go down to the website is home-assistant.io/hasio/installation. The one I downloaded is the one for the 64-bit. The version is what I'm using because I am using the Pi 4 2 gig right now currently. And basically what you do is you would download the image. So you would click it down here, download it, and you would actually save the file. The tool I use to flash this would be uh, basically Etcher. You would just basically click on from file, and then you would click on to your file that you would open, and then you would tell it to flash it, and it'll flash to utility. After getting into it here, it's going to here. What we're gonna end up doing here is you're gonna log into your device, which is going to be the IP address with 8123, which is the default port number, and then you'll need to log into your Home Assistant. I use KeePass so that I can be able to make sure all my passwords are protected and I can use it. So I don't even know what my password is. I just make sure it's so long that I can't even see it. That makes it secure because I want to make sure that nobody can get into it. And here what we have is so I enabled dark mode here. You're going to see the device. I have my Xbox set up right now. This is the basic one here because I don't have a lot of devices right here. It tells me all your devices. It tells what the speed tests I've been running here on there. If you want to compare it for speedtest.net, it tells me it's running in the background. It kind of shows me an average to make sure what I've been using recently. It tells me your basically the upload and download. It tells me the devices. It tells me the weather in the area. It also allows you to gives me the capability of seeing, and if I have my Xbox set up so that I can actually see if anybody's using my Xbox. It's kind of there. You can add in other plugins, but this is one of the nice thing about it is if you want to set up here, this is not really where I'm at right here. I just have a random map. It picks up the location. I don't like there. It shows all the basically what I can stream, playing, what all the devices I have. Here's a history. It tells me what's going on, status, what's playing, what's turned on. So it does give me a look logs. One thing it is great about it, especially if you have a kids and you have an Xbox login, you want to actually see if they're on or not. You can always take a look at your router logs, but it's also a good way to be able to see here right away. Like if you go to owner, I can see anytime that since I've authenticated with my Xbox account, anybody that turns on one of my Xboxes, it will automatically will tell me that whoever the user is. And our media player here. Then this is how you can actually. Here's the developer tools if you want to make any kind of to the YAML file and edits and everything else. If you want to be able to do it here, so weather home, you can edit your information, location here. Here's the if you want to have add-ins, you can click on add-in the stores. Here's all the default add-ins. Plus, you can always go to the website, Hasio, and if you want to check and see if they have any kind of their other services, like for example, maybe you want to look for maybe a Samsung TV. There is Samsung right there. Or maybe if I have maybe I'm looking for maybe a soundbar. Let's say I'm have like a Yamaha soundbar. So there's MusicCast, and it tells me if I want to go to MusicCast on basically how to be able to get it to allow that, and I can actually tells me how to use the example on how to add this in. Here's the GitHub project. So I want to get in here. It tells me the Pi. It tells me how to use a Core Assistant and add it in. Or if you have a snap in, it's really easy. You can just go in snap ins and system right there. So gives you the option here. System tells you with the logs and information what you're using and how much of the CPU you're using, how much of the RAM you're using, and the basic information here. Tells you the address and what addresses that it's using through, and you can change your home assistant here. Let's go ahead and join the beta channel here. Sure, we'll go ahead and join the beta here. Update HAS-iOS here. So we'll go ahead and see what the new beta looks like here. So this is HAS-IO with Home Assistant. This is like a great utility for if you want to run like a smart hub and with a whole bunch of plugins. So it doesn't matter if you want to, basically, if this is kind of like having a smart hub, kind of like a Samsung thing, or there's other ones out there you can use smart hubs. So if you have a Ring doorbell system, or you want to integrate a lot of your devices in one place, plus if you have like maybe any kind of older tablets and stuff, you can download the app on it and you can actually log in and actually see all this information. I like using it because it does allow me. So if I use my UDM Pro, it kind of shows me information there. I can look at all that information when it's set up here. I also have the capability of having everything in one area. It's great for parental controls, so I can actually see whatever there is. You can also set up for like both Apple and Android if you want to track your phone. So if you want to see where people in the house, or maybe even see if somebody's in the house, or control lights. If you have any kind of smart light bulbs, this is probably one of the best home systems that they have out there. So it's going to take a few moments. So we did take an update. It's going to take a few moments to update here. So we'll go through there. So you can see there's a lot of climate controls. So if you have a smart thermostat, and you can be able to go through them. Z-Wave, all these things here. You have the capability. So let's go through some basic information alarms. So if here's all the information, IFTT is compatible to it. You can use MQTT controllers. So if you got like Sonoff and you want to reflash them with like so that you got the capabilities of there with like Tasmono, and be able to use that. Here is the kind of world clocks there. Here's all the cameras there. Systems there. Argot's are really good. So you like smart locks and things you can really easy use. Again, it has the Ubiquiti video system. So again, there are Synology NAS drives. So again, these is a lot of capabilities you have here. Here's cars. You can use if you want to connect with your car or those things. Here's your climate control, so you can have everything in one area. Covers, so you have a lot of different plugins you can use here. So any kind of there, GPI Open, so if you have your own Raspberry Pi projects, is really good. Samsung Smart Things. So this goes through here and pulls that information, so that they have those kind of things and how to set it up. So they do have ways to go through that. You got a difference of media players. So if you have a whole bunch of, depending on what you want to run, Android TV, those kind of things, you can rebid them in there. Looks like DirecTV, Harman Kardon, Kodi, Plex, Roku, Samsung Smart TV, Sony, Spotify, Yamaha Ydcast, Xbox. That's the plugin I used recently on there that really works out really well. How you can be able to check and see what when everyone's coming on. What I like about it. Here's all the networking utilities. This works really well. UniFi MFi import, UDP/NP. That's really good. It was enabled. Wake on LAN, zero network configuration. Who's gonna have to remember that one because that way I can actually integrate who's into mine. So I'll have to go in as soon as I get log back in there. We'll have to get that enabled. Notifications, that's always a good one here. So you can always get push notifications. Cell phone set up with Trillio or Trillio SMS, Twitter, Instagram, SMIS via GSM modems. Signal, I'll have to go in and add that plugin so that way I can start getting text messages here. So we'll have to use that REST API and we'll have to configure the YAML here to be able to allow to send us information anytime when we get one of those triggers. So that's really good. You can encrypt the message, and that's really good to know that it's encrypted here. So REST APIs, notifications of Android TV or Fire TV. Again, these is so much you can do here. Some things just have there here, so let's go ahead and go to numbers. It tells us what numbers do. So again, those are there, and fan control, finances. So it kind of gives us, if we want to track our Bitcoins and stuff, it's always good here. Let's go ahead, geolocation, so we want to know where everybody's at. That's always a good one here. Health, so these are all the health things. Fitbit, you can go in there, have a Fitbit watch and stuff. You can be able to use that information. It gets pulled right there. History. Here's all the hubs it can attach with. So if you do have IP cameras, ASUS WRT, Home Assist to iOS, there's just everything smart hubs and stuff you can integrate with. It's just Trillio, Ubiquiti Unified here. So gives us information here. So again, these are some other videos that you may want to check out if you want to see other reviews with other devices. So if you want to about my other Ubiquiti equipment I've used, so those are things here. Z-Wave, that's always a good one here. Postal services, track it in there. So we got those things here. And map tracking, that's always a good one. I'll have to remember using that one so that we can be able to kind of look at ports and stuff on the open on the network and kind of track that. That's always a good one here. More unified and UFID APs. This is going to be helpful on here. Here's all the remotes you can be able to use as the alternate remote. It's good to know the Xbox is one of them. Roku and those things, so we can actually have everything in one place. So just kind of run through the basics here. You know, there's so many plugins you can be able to use for this. It's amazing what you can be able to do with this smart hub. It's pretty much if you want to control all your kind of systems, kind of it basically for your network, and you can run that just on there. Text to speech, and this can be very easy integrate into Alexa or Google Home. Transportation. Utilities. Vacuums, so if you want to control your smart vacs and stuff. Voices, there's your voice assistant. So these are all the one: Dialogflow, Alexa, Google Assistant, HomeKit. So there again, there is a lot of things you can use if you want to integrate into everything here. It's fairly easy to get integrate here. Of course, other Donato's Pizza, you can order right from there, so you can be able to set a plugin for that. Feed reader, there's a lot of them that you can go. And of course, weather. There's all the weather apps you can be able to use integrated right to it. So it gives us their entries, UPnP. Do you want to use Udemy here? This is the Dream Machine information if you want to see that. Tells us information here, packets here. So if you want to make it so, again, you can go configurations and stuff, and you can disable integrations. So example, let's say maybe I don't want this here. So we can go devices, 8 entries, or we can just go ahead and go to this here. Delete this, hit OK. Add in integrations, so if you want to be able to search for anything here. See, this is all the plugins. You can immediately go right here. Minecraft server, that's a good one here. Mobile apps. Google Nest. Pi-hole, if you're running a Pi-hole server, we can either easily click on that and put in the Pi-hole information. Raspberry Pi supply checker, that's always a good one to have on there, especially if you're running through Raspberry Pi. Samsung TV, if you use one of those, are really good to have it, so you can be able to connect to it so you can see what's going on. Samsung things here. So again, this is the only thing that I have mine, but you can configure what you want to do here. Tells me it's okay, and Raspberry Pi here, it tells me what's going on here with the sensor. So because I used it with the Raspberry Pi. Tells me if there's any notifications. Scripts, tags, QR tag automation. There's so much you can do in here. Zones, so you can set up zones for theirs, logs, information, version. This is just a overview of Home Assistant, how to install it, how to log into it, and just some basic information on it here. This is one of the Raspberry Pi projects that is pretty good to be able to use. There's a lot more people that are going to probably be more efficient than I am on this. This is just the basic overview. So if you want to get into this, I would say this is probably one of the more recommended basically projects you can do for a Raspberry Pi. It's probably one of the best home automation systems out there. It's completely free to use, which is nice. That's one of the things I do typically like with it is that there, and that's one of the things with other Raspberry Pi projects I have. It's there. I like it that you can integrate everything there again, with pretty much a lot of other projects in there. I also say open, free and open source, Linux-based projects, Raspberry Pi based projects. These are what's going to be um, growing. I think with a lot of just kind of do it yourself, especially with this economy where money may not have all this money to go and spend things for like things like Samsung and things or other smart hubs there that you may have pretty high cost on. This is a way you can integrate things, build it yourself, and also have other maybe commercial based products. How to very easy integrate it. It doesn't take very long. It only took me about after flashing it to set it up. It only took about only probably about less than 10 minutes to get everything set up, especially when you are using this with Hass.io. And there is a way to manually configure this with the YAML files. If you want to be able to go through that in the future, if I get a lot of requests on that, I will probably go a little bit more in depth into this. I'm just kind of going through the basics to kind of show everyone else there. Basically on how to be able to use this. I think it's good to show this to the community and a lot of those things. I have had a lot of people, especially with a lot of requests on home automation and those kind of information based not only on my comments but also based off of what a lot of people I talk at currently with my job there, that they indicate that that they do use a lot of smart home products. And I think this is a way to be able to kind of respond and kind of help with giving back to the community and showing what we can be able to do. And there is a lot of ones, like for example, if you like a lot more information on there, things like more of the experts are going to be like places like Dr. Z's videos on YouTube is very good on this. If you're on Facebook, again, the same way. This is going to be he has a lot more videos than I on how to use this. This is just more of here's a basic run through. A lot of times you get it where they're going to go through Home Assistant and they're going to go through how to add a new device or flash Tasmodo, but they really haven't went in through on how to flash Raspberry Pi and kind of just go through the basics because again we can't really go started without those. I'm more like using it because I am a parent that has teenagers in the house, and I want to make sure that I can be able to show basically. I know when maybe at 3 in the morning when one of my children get on the internet that I can see when their Xbox Live tag turns on would indicate it. And plus, it's going to show me in my Home Assistant log that they turned it on. Yes, I can block in, and yes, I have those kind of things, and I have some basic information through like the UDM Pro, and yes, I can set up Pi holes that kind of block some access, but this kind of gives me a lot more control because this kind of gives me there. Other things that's nice there with having other family members in the house is you can control everything. It's kind of like especially if you have like an iPad or even a cell phone, everyone in the house has access to be able to control it. So it's nice to be able to have it so everyone can turn on lights if you have lights and other integration. This also gives it for more future projects. I'm going to probably add a lot more to this as soon as I get a little bit more smart home products. Yes, anytime you have smart home, that there is always a security risk. That's why I would always make sure that we'll go to another video in the future on how to set up VLANs, because you're going to want to make sure that your connection to things like through your VLAN is going to make sure that it's kind of isolated. Especially, you don't want anybody else on your main network because of the fact if they get in, you don't want them to have access to the rest there. You don't want them to have there. Is there a way to be able to escape VLANs? It can, but a little bit more difficult. But again, that can be done. But again, those are kind of isolates everything. So it gives a lot more there on how to be able for security. And in the future, we'll kind of go more and maybe into more of those veins because I kind of have a mix between audiences of what everyone likes looking for in content. I know there's a lot of content on YouTube, and you have a lot of different ones. Again, I'm not an expert on everything, but again, I will show what I have that I know, and when I keep on growing or if I find some kind of new projects, I will be able to share it to them because again, projects. This is also a great project to set up with kids and help with families and learn how to use the Raspberry Pi, because more of the Linux community, more free-based software having is going to end up happening better with community and kind of showing. I'll give you a little story on my background, a little bit more, not really a background story, but I'm going to give you a story of my personal experience here. When I was young, when I have a lot of kids. I have kids that are from anywhere from pretty much 8 to almost over the age. It's going to be of age of 20 here in a day, or actually just a day. They just so it is going to be that it's that are different there. So with the my oldest child, when he was in his being a teenager, I got him a Raspberry Pi. Um, what happens is he ended up doing very well with computers because that's one of the biggest things that help him with getting in there and showing him about electronics and help him with growing, because it's getting your kids into anything, be able to get in electronics is give them that really good foundation. It opens up more questions, it helps them with going projects, and especially right now with the pandemic out there, maybe you're kind of stuck at home and not knowing what to do because of the fact that you can't control what's going on with the pandemic, or we don't have a lot of control of what's going on out there. What we can do is we got a lot of projects we can do. Go and find microcomputers, do projects with your children, give them things to do, show them that there is a lot of things more than just sitting down and playing Xbox all day long or PlayStation or whatever. It doesn't mean gaming's not fun, and that is a lot of fun things. But again, there's only so much that's going to take them. Go and give them real world experience. That may help them with getting into eventually into Python and programming. But this kind of gives them a good foundation. And with the Raspberry Pi under $50, you can get it set up to be able to go there. You're looking probably $35 for the Raspberry Pi, depending on what version you have. You can go a little there. You can maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what version you have. The power supply and having it. Only thing you need is a cable and an SD card. And SD cards are fairly inexpensive now. So depending on where you're getting your things, you can have probably most likely under around $50. You can get a computer there, and if you want one that has more integration and stuff that you can always do, there's Raspberry Pis a little bit more, and there's a lot more integration you can do with them. But it kind of gives them a good way to be able for an inexpensive $35 computer. But by the time you get a power supply and a card for it and reflash it, it does those. So there's a lot of kits and stuff you can go there, or if you're having one, there's other things. If you have maybe a Raspberry Pi just sitting around that you just don't have much to do, show with the kids, give it the community, show videos just like I'm going to be doing here. I think giving back to the community is more than anything else, and more that we can be able to work as a team and go through everything is going to be there. So this is just coming from a perspective of comparing my own personal views on this. This is It's not like I'm getting sponsorships. I'm not making any monetary value off of this. I just giving the back to the community right now. I'm trying to grow my channel, and this is the biggest thing to be able to kind of do this is working with each other, and hopefully the content that you enjoy. I will prefer you like it if you subscribe to my channel, give me kind of comments, and put the thumbs up if you like my videos, because again, that will allow us. So let's everyone on YouTube know there. Yes, there's other platforms like BitChute I'm going to have to look into, and anytime I go and make some alternate media content, I will show some videos on those too, because again, knowing the community and multiple sources you can do, because again, getting the information out there is going to be the best thing here. Yes, you can. There's a lot of companies, a lot of jobs out there, and the technology is not going to go away. Look at all the security out there you have, and they've had data breaches the U.S. government's had really recently, and look at all these data breaches out there. We'll go ahead and go through in the future, and then about haveibeenpwned.com, we'll have those things, and we'll go through those sites, and I got a couple other sites that we can recommend for looking at your security and how to look at and see what addresses come from, MAC address lookups, and things like that. We've got a couple different resources on how to do this, and we'll go out a little bit more and go in depth. Just knowing where my audiences are, I know a lot of times I go more technical channels, so I don't usually go to the basics of wireless, but I will probably have it where I'll go have a basic video in there, just like any of the. I think there's always important to kind of go through the basics, because again, this is just kind of getting everyone thinking ideas. I think it's good about building the community and working around with out there. It's there. I know a lot of times maybe there. We may also have it where in the future I'll go in a little bit on how to build a basic website and look in those things, because again, I know that there's a lot of small business and stuff out there struggling. Maybe if somebody has new ideas, I'm not the best programmer, but again, I can look up other content. They do have a little bit better videos than I do on there, so we'll go ahead and I'll point you to those and those kind of indexes, because again, those are things. Look at ideas out there. Look at projects. Look at new skills you have. It's not only about the certifications and there, but this is getting hands-on experience. You can do a lot of emulation through these Pis, and it's a good way to build. The other things is, again, it's maybe you have a smooth switch and you need something in the switch room, so you can be able to just remote over to it in case if something goes down. It's Raspberry Pis are a good way, or maybe you want a wireless printer, maybe you don't have a wireless built into it. It gives you the capability of, it does give maybe some older, maybe you want to use this as a using an emulator. There's a great emulators for the Pi, so it's a good way to be able to do it. And mainly, it's getting the Pi project to learn how to program. That's probably one of the better ones out there you can use for it. Because again, these are skills that it can be maybe you can use outside of just, hey, this is my basic things. A lot of these other skills that we're using through these tools can be used for multiple different purposes. Everyone has a use for the things. It depends on how much you want to learn. If you don't want to really have a lot of, if you want some basic information, I will go on the how-to videos so that everyone can be able to kind of use the basics and we'll follow along together. There's a lot more advanced user. Maybe this video may not be the best for them, but because this kind of how-to videos. But again, there's other content out here. I'm going to keep on posting anytime I see any big video updates. Anytime I see any kind of new updates with any kind of services, and I'm going to start a technical news. I know I'm not going to have a following like something like Gamer Nexus or Linus, but again, we all need to start somewhere. This is just going to be Lost Electronics again here, and we're going to go ahead and this is going to be the Hass.io video, and we're going to have a couple more videos coming out this couple weeks here.